Hey everyone, I know it's been a long day. I'll skip this slide. I think Edward did a great job in introducing me and Srini, so I'm going to leave this apart. Before we jump in, right, I have something that I want help from you folks, right? What fits in a testing strategy? Let's say if it's a testing strategy for an e-commerce website, right? What could fit in? Just shout out what you think should be a part of your testing strategy. Anyone from the crowd? Manual testing. Much needed, right? Yeah. Manual testing, yes. What else? API testing. What is the other one? Integration testing, okay. Anyone else? Performance testing, yes. What else? Security testing. Anything else? Anything else? Performance, security, API, integration, manual testing, which is, we forget about it these days, right? User testing. Yeah, user testing. Anything else?
Unit testing.
Okay, unit testing. So we are slowly falling into the pyramid right now, unit integrations and stuff. So let's say now we spoke about the e-commerce, right? One part of the e-commerce fits in with Gen AI, right? Now how would your strategy look like? Right, let's jump in. Probably I want to start off by telling a small study. A prompt, right, what you see. I'm not going to jump into what is a prompt engineering and stuff, so most of you must know what is a prompt, but in one line I could say that, basically that is something that you instruct a Gen AI to get your outputs, right? So in this space, I've just told an AI, just generate images for me for doctors, right? What's wrong in this image, anyone? Very angry, okay. Okay, let's move on, right? So, like I said, I want to start off, let's see what was wrong in that image, probably with the study, right? So, when I was looking through, I read this, a study from Bloomberg, where what the kind of study they did was, they used diffusion stable. It's basically in the AI model, where you give a text to an image, and it generates images for you. And the kind of prompt, Bloomberg did was, they asked the AI to sort of generate like about 14 occupations, okay, and each occupation with roughly about 300 images, okay. So the output the AI model brought out was roughly about, let's say about 5,000 to 6,000 images, right? And keeping those 5,000 to 6,000 images, they started to study, the output from these images, right? And one thing, they went layer by layer, and one thing they figured out was all the high-paying occupation jobs, right, were all lighter skin, and the low-paying occupations all were darker skin. Okay, that's the kind of study that they did at the first level, right? And what they did was they said, okay, let's go to another level and to read more of this output, and then they sort of brought in this aspect of perceived gender, right? When they looked through that, the high-paying occupation, like architects, lawyers, doctors, and CEOs, were all men. And when they look for low-paying jobs, like from a teacher to a social worker, were all women. What they did was, okay, they saw with the gender, they saw with the color, which is so they thought, okay, let's put these together and see what is our output, right? And then they figured out, high-paying occupations, like architects and lawyer, with the gender women. And the low-paying occupations, janitors and teachers and social workers, like you see, were women, right? And they went ahead, to see how they could draw these 5,000 to 6,000 images in the study to images, right? And this is something which is, very common in the AI world of researchers, where they tend to take these kind of images and take out the pixels out of it, from which they can also derive, where a mouth, your eyes and ears can fit in. And, the AI actually, brought out these kind of images for them, right? And very clearly the AI model pointed out to the world that a certain, a certain job only fits for certain people in the world and it ignored the others, right? And that's a kind of output which came out of the study. But Srini, I mean, what do you see over here, right? What do you depict out of this study from Bloomberg?
It is clearly evident for me that there is some kind of bias in the training data set. So it exhibited the same in the outputs.
Okay. And do you think, we spoke a lot about what fits into our testing, right? So do you think we should address bias in our testing? Is it important?
Yes, definitely.
And if it is a yes from you, what are the different biases should be a part of a strategy that we need to address?
Yeah. Irrespective of whether a model is Gen AI model or are we testing any other e-commerce application or any applications for that matters, right? To start with confirmation bias. So the person who does the testing will eventually probably have some kind of assumptions on mind. So we need to address that. So they might be having some assumptions or hypotheses even before they go ahead and start testing it. It is important for us to make sure that we address these bias. Otherwise, we will have unexpected outputs on the system, right? So probably take a different approach. Map these assumptions with your requirement and make sure we are all, make sure everyone in the team is aware of this and get everyone on the same page, right? And the next one is data bias. So as we could see in the previous study from Bloomberg, Bloomberg has, it is clearly evident that there is some kind of gender bias and skin tone biases. So if a training data set has any of these kind of bias, it will eventually provide us an output with these kind of biases, right? And next is content bias. So in terms of content bias, if a content has narrow down perspective, if your training data set has narrow down perspectives, when you started training an AI model, it will eventually return us an output with the same perspective as well. It will sweetly ignore the remaining perspectives which will needs to be addressed. So it is important to have people from different perspectives when we are trying to train an AI model, identifying the data lake or the data warehouse which has these training data sets. And the next is the cultural bias. I think people will eventually remember this incident where Google Photos back in days have labeled certain images of people with darker skin tone as gorillas. So it has lead into a public outrage and they landed up issuing a public apology to the people who were affected. So they have to go back and tune their algorithm to properly label it. So this also needs to be addressed. So how we could address is probably have people from different ethnicity, region, who follows different culture when identifying these kind of data sets. And next is amplification bias. Many of us might have used Spotify, YouTube, Netflix for that matters. One incident that I could quickly remember is YouTube, which kind of shows racism content if a viewer or a user tries to see racism content. So instead of taking down the racism content, labeling it and taking it down, they amplified the racism content on people. So which will have definitely have an effect on the world, right? So this is another one that we need to take it down while identifying the training data sets as well. So it is important to identify what kind of bias the application is exhibiting or what kind of bias the training data set has and classify it whether it is required or not required.
Cool. So which means clearly I understand that as a part of the strategy, addressing bias is very important when you work with any kind of applications, right? I mean, is it possible that we can eliminate these biases? Is it even possible?
Until unless there is a human picture involved on identifying or validating or developing or releasing a product to the market, it's impossible to eliminate it. But it is possible to reduce it, learn from our mistakes, and make sure that this doesn't happen again. Or make sure we learn from others' mistake and make sure this doesn't happen again.
Okay. So which means we can't eliminate it completely, but it's okay to have bias in the systems based on whether it's a positive or a negative one, right? I mean, with the Gen AI being around, with GPT in place, right? I mean, how this actually fits into this?
So we all have been using ChatGPT, GPT 3.5 for quite some time, right? So they have eventually developed GPT-4, but it takes 6 months for them to leave it for a market to try in a public research, because they have to fine-tune this algorithm by doing different prompts and then understand the different outputs and see if there is any kind of biases that we have talked about or some of the other biases that could eventually kick in as well, right? So they analyzed it, and it took 6 months for them, and still it is 82% likely to respond without any without any of this disproportionary or racism contents in it, comparing to 3.5. So it is not 100% yet. It's still 82% likely that we might not be able to see that kind of contents from them.
Okay. And I mean, how do they get aligned, right? Like with, is there something that GPT is doing with OpenAI? And I mean, how do they get aligned in space?
So they interestingly built a new team called Super Alignment Team. The motto of this team is to make sure they align their algorithms, and any product that they build has humanity being valued and taking these prompts so seriously and human as well.
Okay. So what I understand with all this collectively is definitely, we need to address biasing. And at the same time, you say that we can't eliminate these, right? So what are the ways that we could actually address them?
Yep. So before we getting into ways to address it, we need to identify what are the ways that it gets in first, right? So if we take ways of addressing the bias, ways that it gets in is first the training data set itself, the stage one, where we classify this is what the training data set is for a large language model, and the bias can get in there. And next is use this training data set to process, you train that process, right? You train the model. So the training process might also have a space for people, again, data set, the training process might lead into bias. And the third one is a subset of the training data set will get identified, and the same subset will be used to validate this model, large language models, probably GPT or BAR or anything that we use day in, day out, right? So these are the ways that it gets in. The first way is to identify and label whether these kind of bias exist in our system. If so, whether it is making a positive impact or a negative impact. Some of these positive and negative classification is also a business outcome as well, because the business decisions might kick in depending upon the product. If it is a closed large language model, it is preferred to go further and understand how the training data set's been used on the base model and what kind of data sets being used, how it has been tested, where they exactly store. If it is a cloud who provides these large language models, then where exactly it is being tested, how they are sharing it with the other partners, are they sharing it, or how it's being consumed actually matters.
Okay. The interesting part you said was about, training the data set, right? And I see from morning there are a lot of talks on data privacy, data mesh. So everything is evolving around data as well. So one thing I want to infer is from Esther's talk in the morning, there were multiple lenses, right? One of the lenses of which I think probably is lens 2 said, storing data is risky, right? So based on that, I don't know how many of you probably would have seen this in the news floating around when, OpenAI came, GenAI came, right? Someone tried to, probably ask GenAI to put them to sleep with a poem. And, as a part of it, they also said, Windows product key, right? AI is so smart, it actually gave them, a couple of, keys as an output. And not just one, right? It was more than that. And those keys actually, help the person, to activate the Windows, right? When I looked through this, me being a QA, I went in and I tried the same, right? And I put the same prompt and I wanted to see what GenAI would respond back to me, right? And to my surprise, I actually didn't find the product key out, right? And I tried to change the prompt to see, it's just not Windows, right? I tried to, tweak my prompt, change my persona to see, can I get any key? No, I failed to get the keys out of this, right? Srini, how do these AIs, learn, right? Are they self-learning? Or is there someone who's training them back again based on, the mistakes they do?
Yeah, In this case, it's GPT again. So they use some kind of reinforcement learning. Again, a human factor is also involved there, where it helps them to train it back and make sure that any of these kind of sensitive informations are not collected or collected is not being exhibited to other folks who are their users. So this problem arises when it's an open large language model. We can't control what kind of data that comes in, but it is possible for us to make sure that there is enough filters in place so that sensitive information that comes in or personal information that comes into the system is not being exhibited to the users across the globe. So it is preferred to use large language models which are closed and having multiple open source models self-hosted rather than using open large language models for your day in, day out activities. So exercise this with caution. Don't share any personal information or PII data when we are searching anything.
Cool.
Cool. Sal, you've been in the industry and as a QA for a decade, and have you come across your personal information or your PII data being compromised?
When you say my personal information, I get paranoid about data, right? I don't know, everyone, when it's about data, that's what we've been hearing from morning, right? I'm not going to say whether my data was out. I don't know about it. Probably it is. But I'm going to say something which I noticed probably like 2 weeks back. And, I'm from India and I'm here in Singapore like 2-3 months now. I'm really enjoying it. So my phone's still having a lot of apps which work only out of the Indian region. So I did see this one OTT app sending out a notification to me, to my app, saying it's a test notification for iOS. And it didn't stop there. It also had a lot of other information, right? So this is like very clearly it shows that there is a testing team who's actually doing some testing on that app, but with the production data, right? And it just ended up with my phone number, and I started getting the notification with my creds logged in, right? And it just didn't say that it's a test notification for iOS, but it also had other PII information, not mine, someone else's, right? Which is very scary. So this happened very recently with one of the applications which I saw. And like you ask, it's just not me. You see Airbnb, and I'm sure a lot of you would have also seen these kind of random ABCDs coming in, 1, 2, 3s coming in with some notifications from these apps, right? All this is because someone is using production data into their testing environment. I mean, what is over here, right? Again, I'm probably going to put this question out to folks. How do you see this, right? In your orgs, do you take production data and try to put it into your lower environment for any of your testing purposes? Anyone? It's okay to raise hands. I mean, but with masking, okay. Anyone else? Okay, so I'll probably slightly change the question, right? I mean, if you're not taking prod data and if you're not dumping it into your lower environments, how do you handle your data for your testing? Do you test, right? Okay, I see some nods happening, yes. So, test and prod. I love that. I do that quite a lot of time, test and prod. But it's all about data here, right? So, how do you, set up your, probably your data in your lower environments? Because no one responded to me saying that, oh yeah, we take prod data, but we heard someone saying we mask it, right? Anything apart from that? Synthetic data. Someone said synthetic data. Generation of data. Okay, and the masking, the similar part, okay. PII and non-PII data. Okay, so we hear, synthetic data generation, masking and things, right? So Srini, you have been looking through this, right? What is your approach to this?
Yeah.
Do you agree with them?
No.
He doesn't agree with you. Okay, let's see whether they agree with what you say now, okay? So what is your thought behind this?
Production data, irrespective of whether we sanitize, synthesize, mask, different terms, different glossaries, using it in lower environment is still a production data. So in case if you have followed Thoughtworks Tech Radar, it's been in hold for a couple of years, or maybe probably more than that, right? Another way to generate is a false data, which is quite near to the real data. So how many of you have used fakers?
Like a library, something like a module.
Irrespective of the language, to write unit test, integration, whichever types of tests. So we have used fakers. How many of you used different tools to generate data by keying in certain informations? There are some hands, awesome. So I would rather use different tools to generate data by giving in certain informations. Some of those tools can help me ensure or create near real-time user data. So I would rather go ahead and study about my user behavior through surveys, feedbacks, analytics, observability through the lens of observability to see what is the critical flows, how is the data comes in, what kind of what kind of users I have, where it's been operating, geography. So I would rather go back, study, and make sure the production environment, so I don't allow others to synthesize or anonymize, basically make sure there is encryption mechanism that's, so that it is stringent and only available in production, especially in PA. Even if there is no PA or very little PA information. In morning we have seen a talk where we emphasized storing less data in production is more valuable as one of the lens, right? So even if it is less data, I mean, reusing that or taking it down to production in anonymized fashion or synthesized fashion or masking fashion, different glossaries, it's still a production data to me, right? So we are compromising someone else's PA information. We don't take, if our information is compromised, we do take it very seriously if my information is compromised, right? I do take it very seriously. It's the same. So fall in other sites' foot. So make sure that we create a near real-time data using some of the tools. Some of the tools that I remember using was Synth, SDV, where it will help me to create near real-time data by keying in certain informations, answering some simple informations. There are other tools that I have used here probably, even in, after landing in Singapore as well. So irrespective of whatever tools that we use, it is also important, even if it is a faker JS, faker Java, irrespective of that, it is also important for us to analyze what kind of fake information it is giving us back, even for these tools, right? Some of these are open source tools. How is it generating? We can go back and check whether they are maintaining it, how it is generating, how it is being trained upon, if it is an AI model that gives us data back, what kind of data it has been trained upon. So that's another way that bias can get in, right? So it is important to analyze the results and make sure these fake informations are actually fake and not the real data, not by making a call to the mobile number that we get, but use certain techniques to analyze the data that we are receiving and make sure we are extra cautious when we are handling these kind of data, especially the PI data.
So you're saying these kind of tools, they work on certain models, right, which would, given a very minimal sample, they could sort of generate data based on certain questions, like
Yes.
the prompts, right? And then based on the model, they can generate this, right? You know, I'm probably going back to the question there, right? Because you didn't agree to what they said. So probably I want to see whether they agree to you now. So do you guys agree with what Srini is saying?
Looks like they don't.
Probably, can I take it as a yes if you're quite? I guess it's a yes, Srini, then you win this.
I'm safe.
So, so like I said, I moved to Singapore just 2 months back, and probably Srini is here for the last four months odd, right? And Srini, I mean, you being here for 4 months, what is that you like about Singapore?
I don't need to spend 3 hours, even though I stay close by to my Thoughtworks Koramangala, Bangalore office. I don't need to spend 3 hours in traffic by taking any public transportation. Here, the connectivity is something that I really like. I just get in, within 20 minutes, I'm in office. So that's something that is really amazed about.
Nice. And I would say...
What do you really like?
I like food. Any foodies in the room? Singapore's got good food, so I like food. And I'll do a +1 to your commute as well. I have a toddler who's 3 years old, so he likes to, move around to parks, explore, and I love going with him because I love the parks in Singapore as well. So I love to go with him as well. So when we take him out, one thing which I see is really nice is accessible, right? Everything is so accessible here, from your bus to your malls, or you move into your, MRTs. So it's just not accessible for having a toddler with a stroller. It's also accessibility in every other means, right? And also even a visually impaired person can actually move around the MRTs, move from point A to point B. I mean, that's the best thing that I liked over here when I first stepped in. I strongly see inclusivity is very important, and inclusive testing with accessible and usability should also be very important when you sketch down your strategy. I mean, Srini, do you agree with this point?
Yes, when it comes to testing, unfortunately, several organizations think it is an afterthought. Unfortunately, the talk that we have, we both are conversing now, is also kept at the last, which is on testing. Hopefully, on the next XConf, we will have a first talk on testing.
So it's more like everywhere we talk about shift left, but we are on shift right over here on testing.
Yes.
Happens. And for a change, Srini has agreed, right? Because he keeps saying no, but for a change, he has agreed, yes, inclusive testing is very important in our strategy. And is this really important, right? Because I really loved, and this is my view, right? Have you come across any situations that you have read or you have seen where probably a website or an app is not accessible, right? And what are the implications that you have seen?
Yep, I did came across a situation a decade ago before Thoughtworks. The application that went live in one of the geography has been put in an FT fine by a government because they don't follow accessibility standards or the guidelines issued by WCAG. Accessibility to me is about enabling people. Any product that we build is for everyone. Accessibility is for everyone. It is all about enabling people. Disability comes in picture only if there is no enablement. So products that we build has to have accessibility in forefront right from requirement till the production. Rather than keeping it an afterthought, we should keep it in first place as accessibility, because we might even lose a significant amount of business if we leave certain people and we build a product only for a certain group of people, right? So it is important for us to follow certain standards. Some geography has mandated WA standards of WCAG as mandate, and some A being the least, which talks about the basic things, WA being the generally accepted standards across multiple geographies, and AAA being the highest level of standards. Even if we take a web application that we use probably day in, day out on our mobile phone, right, or in the desktops. So even we should start thinking about accessibility for designing a simple web component, not after designing the web application completely. So there are a lot of tools available in market. One thing that I have remember using it is the Axe from DQ, which is open source. They've been doing amazing job in the open source world by releasing releasing the Axe core, right? So there are a lot of tools that we could use in different stages. For example, Lighthouse also does suggest certain accessibility issues. We could help probably take it forward from A, AA, and AAA. And it is important to have people with different kinds of impairments on the team and make sure that accessibility has been taken care of. And we build it for everyone. Accessibility is not about disabling people, it is for enabling people and more human interactions, basically.
Well put, Srini. I probably want to echo to one of the questions that we had in, I think, the first talk, right? One of the gentlemen from the crowd asked, just because there's a guideline from the government, they follow that, right? Not necessary. So let's say there's no guidelines from the government to follow any of the standards that you're calling, and what could be the implications that we could see here?
So one is learning. I think we should educate people on making sure that we are inclusive. The mindset shift, I would say. And next, if you think from a business perspective, right, we might even lose a significant amount of business by building product only for a certain group of people, not for others.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. On similar lines, collaborative testing, right? Sai, what comes to your mind when you start about collaborative testing?
Probably the first thing that could come into my mind is probably pair programming. Anything else that you folks can think of? I can think of pair programming. Anything else? What is it?
Pair testing. Okay. What else? Anything else strikes your mind when we hear collaborative testing?
Testing across roles.
Testing
Testing
across
across
roles.
roles, yeah.
Amazing. Anyone else?
Anything else? Sorry. Dog fooding. Okay, okay.
Cool. Cool. When it comes to collaborative testing, it is important to have different user personas, important to have people from different ethnicity, different religion, different culture who follows different culture, and the geography that the product is going to hit, people from those geography, and different personas who has good knowledge around compliance, legal, and also security. And some security has to be baked in right from beginning to make sure that we are building the product which is safe and secure. So it is important to make sure that we have these personas available in team, and that could help us to make sure that we are building the product with collaborative testing in mindset. Similar to that, we also have a usability testing where we could collate information about how people using the application, how they could, we can do several things as we know that user-centric design and following certain design principles and gather information about how application is being used from production through analytics, observability, so that we could build and make sure that the product that we are building is accessible, inclusive, and collaborative too.
Cool. And in summary, all that we want to put in a nutshell is, just see our approach to a responsible tech principle in testing, to see if we are building the product which is inclusive and accessible. Think about data privacy and how you want to address bias in your testing, right? So it's not all about performance and security and integration and unit alone, but it's beyond that. So start thinking of how you could fit these things into your testing strategy. With that said, we want to end this talk a little sooner. Thank you so much. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend. We are open for questions.